Hello, welcome. It's the Resilient Rooster. I'm back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today I'm going to be doing a showcase over DDDs with Lair of Darkness. So both of these two decks have two things in common. They're both darks, and they both have a level 8 in their archetype. This makes it useful, that way you can run cards like Trade-In to help you draw cards, and cards like Allure of Darkness to help you just dig through your engine. I used a small engine for the Lair of Darkness. I only used two cards, the Eradicator and the Grinning Grave Virus. I feel that Eradicator is a must-have. It's a blowout if you can actually pull it off. The Grinning Grave Virus, it's useful in that you can use it to tribute your opponent's monster, right? Since if you have the field spell, anything is a dark, so it's always a live card. I didn't add the Full Force Virus because this card is situational. It depends on what card my opponent has, and it also depends on like what card I have on the field. At least with the Grinning Grave Virus, I can use it at any time as long as I have a field spell. It's a shame that we still don't have DDD Flame High King Genghis, otherwise this would have been great in the deck since it's also level 8 and can help you spam out level 8. So this is basically my deck list. Feel free to make any changes, and let's get right onto the replays. Whenever I was thinking of the idea to make this deck, the first card that popped in my mind was the Coach King Giant Trainer. It does require 3 level 8s, but if you do have access to 3 level 8, I feel it's one of the better XZs to go into. It lets you draw 3 cards, but you can't conduct your battle phase for the turn. Hopefully, if you're going first, it shouldn't matter as much. I was able to dig through my deck and I found the Virus card and the Lair of Darkness. The Lair of Darkness makes all the cards on the field dark type, so I can tribute my opponent's cards too. Since they searched the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, I'm gonna save my Virus card until they summon it. They were able to steal my monsters, but I want to use it on the bigger threat. That way when you use it on the bigger threat, it usually ends their turn. So their turn ended, and now it's back to my turn. And since my graveyard is kind of filled, I'm able to make at least some plays. I was able to get enough cards basically to make my Genghis, and my Genghis can revive cards in my graveyard. And DDD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok has an effect to where if you tribute a card, you can banish one card on your opponent's side. So I tribute a card and I was able to bring back my Darkest Diablos. So I was able to basically have enough monsters to attack for game. With so many ways to access your draw cards, hopefully one hand trap doesn't ruin your day. It hurts a lot if your trade-in gets Ash, but if you have more draw cards, hopefully you can draw into your power cards. Eventually I drew into a Soul Charge, and Soul Charge basically got me back in this game. I was basically able to get all the cards that I wasted from my trade-in, and now it's on the field. I made the Coach King Giant Trainer, and I'm slowly recurring my advantage. I had access to the Full Force Virus, which is useful if I have a target. Eventually I got the Eradicator Epidemic Virus, and that card is stronger since it stops spells and traps. But you don't want to activate it immediately. You want to see like what deck they play first before you activate it. That way you know which one to choose. But for the most part, you usually choose spells. But since my opponent didn't use any spells and they set 2 cards, I just chose Trap. And Skull Dread is a very good card in this deck since it lets you draw 4 cards, and it also lets you special summon from the hand. And I special summon my Ragnarok, and I'm basically able to combo off. I wanted to find a way to make my Diablos to the graveyard, that way when I tribute I can get it back, and thanks to these 4 cards I'm able to attack for game. Sometimes the plays aren't that straightforward. You can't really rely on the Rake 8 engine all the time. You have to try to adapt to the situation. In this case I had the Genghis and the Ragnarok. I was able to get a lot of the cards on board, that way I can make the Skull Dread. I thought the Skull Dread was worth more than the Ash since it can help extend your plays. I was able to get through the 7 Thomas, and 7 Thomas helped extend the plays. I got 3 level 8, which basically can make the Coach King Giant Trainer. And this card helped extend your plays again. Skull Dread also can special summon, so once I get my Ragnarok, I can basically make another rank 8. So at this point, I made number 38, and I thought this field was pretty strong. I have a lot of beat stick, and I can negate a spell. But they were playing Burning Abyss, they had Farfall, and with Farfall they got rid of my card, and Raigeki just cleaned my field. So that was basically a total waste, but that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is, right? You make the field, your opponent breaks the field. And then this is basically one of the deck's weakness too, is since you're running a lot of level 8, sometimes you brick and it's hard for you to like come back. So my opponent, they had the Beatrice. I did have the King of Wickedness, so I contribute the Beatrice. And I'm not really sure why they didn't use the Beatrice to banish my card, but I don't think it mattered in the long run since it was hard for me to come back. I was able to deal a lot of damage though, but since their life point's not 0, the game still continues. Their Skarm added the tour guide, and this was the beginning of the end. Their tour guide basically got their Cherubini, and thanks to their Cherubini, they were basically able to get enough cards on board to make the Borlo Dragon. They special summoned their Phantom Knights, and now they can basically attack me for game for exact damage. This next game was one of the quicker games that I had. All my opponent had was just a Scapegoat and a few hand traps. The Scapegoat won't really defend them as much since if I make my Beowulf can do piercing damage. So I was able to get a lot of cards on board, and they're all DDD cards. So even if they activate the Scapegoat now, all my cards can still just do piercing damage. So they try to activate it one last time, but thanks to Beowulf, I could just attack for game. In my next matchup, I was playing against Trickstars, and they had a hand full of spells. I had the Eradicator Epidemic Virus in my hand, so if I get a big monster, I contribute it and basically wipe their whole hand. They tried to use their spell, and I didn't want to activate it prematurely. I want to wait until they have the spell for sure before I used it. So I used it as soon as they used the light stage, and I got rid of their whole hand basically. They chained everything since it was going to go away anyway. And this is the part where the tide is in your favor and you should be able to win as fast as possible. In this case, I wasn't able to. I did have 2 level 8s, and I probably should have kept the 2 level 8 because they can't use spells anyway because they're locked down from spells. So making the Hope Harbinger was a very bad play. And it was like I probably should have won quicker than I did since I would have had 3 monsters at this point. So my opponent, they had the strike, so if I ever use my Hope Harbinger, then it would be negated and destroyed. So it's just a race to the clock. Who's gonna get out of it quicker? So right now they're on turn 3, I believe. As soon as turn 3 ends, they basically are back in the game. So they got the Scapegoat, and if I can't finish them off this turn, then their Scapegoat will eventually come back and haunt me. I tried to deal the exact 3000 damage, but I got stopped. So this is basically like the misplay I had earlier when I probably should have just used the 2 monsters as a beat stick. There was no point since I already locked down the spells. So I'm not really sure why I made the Genghis, but now since they have 4 tokens, they can finally make Borlo Dragon and basically try to stun me down a little bit. They stole my Genghis, they attacked with the Licorice, and I'm down to my 4400 life points. But since my graveyard is kind of filled, I had a chance to come back. My only chance of winning this game was to basically make the Underclock Taker and just make one of their monsters down to 0. So I got the Genghis down to 0, and all I had to do was just attack for that last 1500. That's it for the replays. If you enjoy it, please leave a like. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and have a great day.